So I got my first infection in May of 2022 during the big Omicron wave. Um, that was probably the biggest COVID surge we ever had, where we saw numbers as high as 1 in 10 people were actively infectious. Um, at that point in my life, I was in my junior year of college. I was a bit of a late start. I was at 24 at that age. Um, and I was studying music and doing a lot of different things. I was taking classes at the Hideout Theater, and I even got chances to perform there pretty early on in my improvising career, which was really cool. And it was a very busy time in my life. Like when you're in music school, you do anything anywhere from like 4 to 8 performances a semester. And I was a full-time student then, and being a full-time music student is a little different than credit hours for other things, because a lot of our rehearsals and different ensembles that you're in, it counts as 1 credit hour, but you do like multiple hours of rehearsal and then private practicing as well. So, my college transcript will say 12 credit hours, but really I was doing something close to like 18 or 20 credit hours. And I got my infection in May 2022. It was mild, and it was probably like the worst like sickness I felt in my life. Like it was a flu times maybe two or three, and then I recovered and I kept going. I didn't really stop my life. I didn't really know at that time the dangers of continuing to push your body when it needs to rest. And um, I did summer classes that summer, and then I jumped straight into fall semester doing full credit hours, performing again at the Hideout, so doing regular rehearsals downtown. I also had an internship with a music nonprofit for part of my minor, and just doing a whole lot of things. And being that busy really pushed my body a lot, and I had underlying conditions I didn't know about at the time. But they were starting to catch up with me. I'd grown up with chronic pain most of my life, and I didn't really know what the underlying cause was. And I wouldn't find this out until 2023 that I have scoliosis and hypermobility. And those things have kind of shaped my whole life up to this point, but I didn't really let them get in the way of things until I didn't really have a choice anymore. I was in fall semester, like in the maybe around October, and I was starting to have really debilitating back pain all the time. And I was starting to have these symptoms that I didn't understand around my sleep, like a lot of sleep disturbances, sleep paralysis. I was having these weird um, hallucinations trying to wake up from sleep, and thinking like that my roommate is in the kitchen being really loud cooking something, but I am stuck in my body and I can't wake up. And then I wake up later and I ask him about it, and he's like, I wasn't even home. And so I'm hearing these things that aren't even there, and that's scary. Um, and I wouldn't find this out until this year that those are symptoms of potential type 2 narcolepsy. And so it was those things, and then POTS like symptoms that I wouldn't know were POTS like symptoms until like years after. Um, Eventually, my body was telling me to stop, and I thought it was just burnout. And I've been through autistic burnout before, and it can look a lot like long COVID at first, because it comes with things like light and sound sensitivities, um, loss of like skill regression, loss of skills you've had. I had a lot of trouble being verbal my first year dealing with long COVID. I ended up dropping out and taking what I thought was going to be just one semester off in the spring of 2023. But then I wasn't getting better. And 2023, the whole year went by, I was sleeping 18 hours a day and eating on average 1 meal a day. And at the time, I just thought, this is burnout. I just need to rest my body and I'll get better. But I didn't get better. And it wasn't until November of 2024. At this point, I had heard of long COVID, and I had heard about POTS, and I was suspecting I might have these things, but I hadn't really accepted that yet, and I hadn't really accepted the idea of I need to seek medical treatment for this until November of 2024, when my parents came to visit, and they sat me down and they were like, listen, we know you think this is burnout, but you're not getting any better. Have you thought about if this could be long COVID? And that was really the permission that I needed to like start to accept that I never got better after my COVID infection. Um, so that was kind of the timeline for me. It took me like years after I had to stop my life to really figure out it was long COVID.